Welcome to Star Trek Selections The Next Generation. Today we'll be discussing my top 5 episodes of Season 2. Number 5, Contagion. Written by Steve Gerber and Beth Woods and directed by Joseph L. Scanlon. The Enterprise gets a distress call from the Yamato from inside the Romulan neutral zone. Soon after arriving, the Yamato explodes. A Romulan warbird then decloaks, commanded by Taris, played by Carolyn Seymour. And despite their threats, Picard chooses to stay to investigate the cause of the Yamato's destruction. The investigation leads them to a planet believed to be the home of an ancient and powerful race called the Iconians. The Yamato had been scanned by an automated probe from the planet, causing a series of malfunctions and its eventual destruction. And now the Enterprise is experiencing the same kinds of problems. Picard beams down with Worf and Data, and they discover the source of the probe and a portal device, leading to multiple distant locations, as well as the Enterprise and the Warbird. Data is then zapped with the same virus that infected the ships, and it is up to Picard to destroy the base after Worf gets Data back to the ship through the portal. While not a terribly well-regarded episode, for me, Contagion is a well-paced, thoughtful piece of Star Trek. There are some shocking moments, high stakes with well-executed drama and tension, as well as some quite funny sequences. And Carolyn Seymour, in her first of several Star Trek appearances, gives one of my favourite Romulan interpretations in all of Trek, perfectly icy and menacing. Also, you can really see the ensemble getting comfortable in their roles here. And I, for one, became fascinated by the Iconians after watching this episode. Unfortunately, they were never really explored further in any other episodes. However, the Star Trek Online game has a great Iconian story arc, with Klingons, Romulans, time travel, and Denise Crosby. Well worth a look. So, for giving us a well-made sci-fi story with a compelling antagonist, Contagion is definitely one of my favourite episodes of the season.
Fate protects fools, little children, and ships named Enterprise.
Number 4, The Royale. Directed by Cliff Bole and written by Tracy Torme. When the Enterprise finds some debris from an old Earth ship orbiting an inhospitable planet, Riker, Worf, and Data beam down to the only area capable of supporting human life, a dark void with nothing but a revolving door. They go through the door into a 20th century Earth casino. They soon realize comms are down. I mean, aren't they always? And find themselves unable to leave. They decide to have a look around and come across the remains of an astronaut in one of the hotel rooms. Through reading his journal, they learn that some alien intelligence created all this for him, based on the trashy novel he had on him, the Royale. The away team surmised that the key to getting out of there may be found in the plot of the novel. This involves utilizing Data's unique abilities to win a bunch of money playing craps. I find the Royale to be a kind of throwback to those original series episodes where the crew went to a planet that was like Earth in another time. I think I settled on calling them Snow Globe episodes. And those episodes are always enjoyable for me, as is the Royale. Most of the fun comes, as it often does, from Data, specifically his gambling scenes and his interactions with Noble William's rich Texan cliché. He plays a bit of blackjack, but really gets going at the craps table.
Baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Worf and Riker have some fun moments too, as does Picard. His exasperation about the awful novel he has to wade through is priceless. Writer Tracy Torme is listed as Keith Mills here, due to his dissatisfaction with the rewrites. But whatever they did works for me because it's one of my favourite episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation's second season. Number 3, Elementary Dear Data. Written by Brian Allen Lane and directed by Rob Bowman. Data and Geordi have some time off, so they head to the holodeck to play Holmes and Watson. But since Data knows every word of every Holmes story, he solves it immediately, which frustrates Geordi. They discuss it in 10 forward, and Diana Muldaur as Dr. Pulaski pipes up to take a jab at Data, as she does. I really missed Beverly this season. So to prove Data's abilities, Geordi asks the computer to create a Holmes mystery with an adversary capable of defeating Data. Enter Daniel Davis as Professor Moriarty. He kidnaps Dr. Pulaski, and when Holmes confronts him, Data realizes that Moriarty is self-aware. He immediately leaves to tell the captain. As Moriarty figures out how to control the ship from the holodeck, Picard enters the holodeck with Data and Worf. That's a great look for the Klingon. Moriarty says that all he wants is to exist in the real world. Picard explains that is impossible, but promises to keep Moriarty's program active until the technology exists. Somebody get this man a mobile emitter. Elementary Did Data is of particular interest to me since, like Data, I am a huge Holmes fan. And this episode not only lovingly brings the world of Sherlock Holmes to life with stunning Emmy-nominated costumes and sets, it also incorporates elements from some of the actual stories. Lots of Easter eggs for Holmesians like myself. And Brent Spiner makes a fantastic Sherlock. I would have relished an entire series of his take on the character, as long as we had Daniel Davis as Moriarty along for the ride. He is actually my favourite screen version of the character. Sheer icy intelligence seems to pulse through him, yet the self-awareness with which he has been imbued makes him more than the criminal mastermind he was written to be. This was Brian Allen Lane's one and only Star Trek script, and thanks to a loving tribute to Arthur Conan Doyle's great detective and an exploration of consciousness, it stands as one of the best second season episodes of The Next Generation. Number 2, Q Who, written by Maurice Hurley and directed by Rob Bowman. Captain Picard is zapped onto a shuttle by John Delancey's omnipotent Q and refuses to take him back until Picard agrees to listen to Q's request, which is that he join the crew, asserting that they are not ready for what's out there. When Picard denies his request, an irritated Q sends them hurtling light years across the galaxy, where they meet the Borg, a race of cybernetic... Wait, why am I describing the Borg? If you're watching this, you're most likely fully aware of the greatest villains in the history of Star Trek. Anyway, this is their first appearance, and they do a bit of damage to a drastically outmatched Enterprise, killing 18 crew members like it was nothing, and barely being scratched by everything the Enterprise throws at them. They only escape because Picard admits Q was right. They are absolutely not ready for the Borg. And Q sends them back to where they were. The fact that Q Who gave us the Borg collective would be enough reason for it to be on this list, but it is also one of the best Q episodes. I feel like this episode is where we really begin to see what the character of Q contributes to the franchise, namely an ego check. At his best, he turns up to say, "Oh, you think you're such hot shit? Well, we'll see about that." And it works so well because Delancey imbues the character with over-the-top showmanship, tempered with genuine wisdom. I also want to mention Bowman's direction and Edward R. Brown's photography. Q Who looks different than any of the preceding episodes. There's a noticeable style to it, darker edged, with more creative shot composition. It gives the episode an ominous feeling from very early on, making it a prestigious vehicle for one of the great Star Trek antagonists, and an unsettling introduction for another. With high tension, excellent performances from Patrick Stewart and John Delancey, as well as Whoopi Goldberg in one of her earliest episodes as Guinan, and some thoughtful, poetic dialogue by Hurley, and you have, for my money, almost the best episode of the season.
If you can't take a little bloody nose, maybe you ought to go back home and crawl under your bed. It's not safe out here. It's wondrous, with treasures to satiate desires both subtle and gross. But it's not for the timid.
Number 1, The Measure of a Man, directed by Robert Shearer and written by Melinda M. Snodgrass. While at a starbase, the Enterprise is boarded by Commander Bruce Maddox, who is there, he says, to take Data in order to dismantle him, see what makes him tick, and replicate him. While Data finds elements of Maddox's work intriguing, he doesn't think he has accounted for all the variables and refuses. After being ordered to report to Maddox, Data resigns from Starfleet. However, he is considered to be the property of Starfleet and must comply. This prompts Picard to seek out Old Flame and JAG officer Philippa Lavoie to contest Data's status. Lavoie proposes a hearing with Picard as Data's advocate, and the role of Maddox's counsel falls to the next highest ranking officer, Commander Riker, who initially refuses, but is informed that if he does not do it, Lavoie will summarily rule against Data. Despite his deep reservations, he performs his duty brilliantly, which unsettles Picard greatly, However, a conversation with Guinan inspires him on how to proceed.
You don't have to think about their welfare. You don't think about how they feel. Whole generations of disposable people.
He's talking about slavery.
This is an incredible episode, masterfully crafted by first-time screenwriter Melinda M. Snodgrass. In classic Trek fashion, it takes a human rights issue and explores it through a sci-fi lens, and the dialogue is of the highest caliber, thoughtful, engaging, emotionally resonant, and keenly intelligent. The cast do a great job too, particularly Brent Spiner, who is at his best here as Data, somehow eliciting emotion while steadfastly not conveying any, Jonathan Frakes, doing some of his best work as Riker, making us weep for him as he must say awful things about his friend in order to protect him. Patrick Stewart gives one of his top-tier Picard turns, passionately fighting the good fight. And Whoopi Goldberg, in that one key scene with Picard, almost steals the show. Brian Brophy and Amanda McBroom give good support too. Fun fact, Amanda McBroom wrote the song The Rose, which was made famous by Bette Midler in the film of the same name. The Measure of a Man is widely regarded as the first truly great next-gen episode, and I would concur with that assessment. And it is easily my favourite episode of Season 2.
What is he?
A machine.
Is he? Are you sure?
Yes.
You see, he's met 2 of your 3 criteria for sentience, so what if he meets the 3rd? Consciousness in even the smallest degree. What is he then? I don't know. Do you? Do you?
Join me next time on Star Trek Selections, when I will be looking at Season 3 of The Next Generation. Make it so.